almost immediately upon leaving the area of the spinal column. Where we can call it a spinal nerve is where it is exiting the spinal column. How do I know that this is exiting the spinal column? What I'm seeing here are the pedicles of a vertebra. The vertebra has been sliced so that the vertebral arch remains in the body and the body of the vertebra has been removed. So we can see the vertebral foramen. So I know once we get outside this little funny little circle here that we are right outside of the spinal column. So I'm going to call these then spinal nerves right in this area. We have 8 cervical spinal nerves. I was telling someone during this period that what I learned was that the spinal nerve got the name of the vertebra under which it exits the spinal column. So that would make that one, let's say cervical vertebra number 7, and that normally would make this one then cervical spinal nerve number 7. But there's a problem because the first set of cervical spinal nerves come out of the foramen magnum. So there are 8 cervical spinal nerves, if that means much to you, okay? There are 8 of them. When we are up here taking a look at the cervical portion of the cord, we see that there are a number of spinal nerves then, which then join up and then diverge out again. You can see these cervical spinal nerves and this thoracic spinal nerve here join up, form something called the brachial plexus, and then nerves come out of the brachial plexus and go out into the arm. This is the brachial plexus here. This is the cervical plexus here. I don't have a complete command on what the plexus does, but what I've taught you is that axons of neurons that are higher on the cord can mix with axons of neurons that are lower on the cord and then go out into the nerves of the arm. Why that's a major benefit? Well, you kind of get the mixing of signals from different locations that go to and from the same place. Let's leave it at that.
Can you point them out again?
This is the cervical plexus. How do I know it's a plexus? I'm seeing the spinal nerves joining and then coming apart again. This is the brachial plexus. Technically then, this would be our first thoracic spinal nerve. By definition, it's the vertebra below which it exits the spinal column. So we would have our first thoracic vertebra here. And then we count 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All of these would be thoracic spinal nerves. However, something that we learned in lecture was that the spinal nerve comes out of the spinal cord in this area, immediately has a branch that goes back to the muscle of the back, and then has another branch that then follows the muscles in between the ribs. The name of this nerve in between the rib is going to be an intercostal nerve. Intercostal is a word for between the ribs. Costal is a word for rib. So it's a thoracic spinal nerve close to the column, and it's an intercostal nerve away from the column. By the way, when you get into learning the blood vessels, they all do this. They're one name in one location. They go farther out, they change names. They go farther out, they change names again. So it's not uncommon for us to call it thoracic spinal here and then intercostal out there. It's really common. Things change names. To wrap this up, because I know you're getting tired, we have a problem with the model. The count of nerves is wrong in this area. All I can tell you is that this one here on the bottom is definitely the coccygeal nerve. It's the last spinal nerve. So if that is the last coccygeal, then we have 5 sacral and 5 lumbar. So we just count. Sacral 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. These are the sacral nerves. This nerve plexus over here would be called a sacral plexus. And then we would count. After we had sacral number 1, we would go lumbar 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's where the count gets messed up. Okay? But then we can see here lumbar plexus. Okay? We're seeing the spinal nerves join and then come apart again. The lumbar plexus is the origin of this nerve here and that nerve there. And these are the femoral nerves. They come down and follow the femur. This is another lesson for you. Just like with muscles, the nerves may take on the name of the bone that they're closest to. The sciatic nerves shown here, they have number 25s on them. The sciatic nerves, their origin are the sacral nerves, the sacral spinal nerves. So this big nerve here, number 25, is the sacral nerve, and that one over here as well.
Are you able to read the number on the femoral nerve?
Yep, it's got a 21 on it.
21.
Okay. I neglected to give you the names of these nerves here. Coming out of the brachial plexus, we end up with three main nerves that innervate the hand and forearm. Two of them are real simple. They're based on the bone that they are next to. This is the radial nerve on the lateral forearm. This is the ulnar nerve on the medial forearm. And then central in the forearm is the median nerve, the middle, median. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's all of the pink sheet parts. I am a little concerned that I haven't given you enough down here, and that when you, wherever you end up, that you're going to draw blanks when you start to, let's say, deal with nerve names down there. So I'm sorry about that, but there's got to be a limit, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You have any questions about what you see here? About anything? Different chord parts? All kinds of stuff? As a review, there's a spinal cord. The model does not show what would be called the cervical enlargement, a thickening of the cord. There's more gray matter in the cord there. There's also a lumbar enlargement here. Again, more gray matter in the cord, thickening of the cord. Those are not shown very well on here, but we know where they are. This is L1, that's L2, and our cord tapers to a point right there. That's where you'd expect to find it. The tapering point is called the conus medullaris. The vertebral foramen then is not empty, inferior to the conus medullaris. Nerve roots of the cord continue on. This is where epidurals can be done because there's no risk of injuring the cord. Okay? Epidurals cannot be done up in here. There's risk of cord injury up in here. So these are the cauda equina, the nerve roots of the vertebral foramen. That's all I can think of.
Can you point to the brachial plexus?
Sure thing.
I'm sorry.
Yes, the brachial plexus is actually one of the easier ones to identify because there's all of this going on. It's occurring right up in here, okay? And we can see that there are cervical nerves, cervical spinal nerves that are joining up. They join, axons cross over, and then three main nerves comes out of that plexus, the three that we learned in the arm. So it's the brachial plexus there, cervical plexus up in here, okay? Lumbosacral plexus or lumbar and sacral plexi, okay?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Are most of these nerves deep to the muscle or superficial?
That's a good question. They are going to eventually become deep as they penetrate into the muscle to innervate. But if you were to get a cadaver, lay it out here, and start dissecting in here in all this stuff right in here,
Yeah.
okay, it's superficial. You'll see it. You can even almost like, I won't touch you, but if you were to sort of palpitate in here, you might even be able to touch some of these nerves. Particularly if you get on one and you start to feel sort of something funny in your hand or something, you've touched one of the nerves that's going down that way.
That's kind of why I was asking. I was wondering if I could sort of
We're all
go like
able
Yeah.
to know.
If you know where to look for them
Let's
and you
get
know what they
weird.
feel like, you can sort of mess around in here and you might be able to